We're going to start in the reverse order this time. We're going to start with 6 and then work our way back to 1.
A couple of things. First of all, some observations, and I think it's important. I don't think you have to be a restaurant expert for the first couple of meetings. I think we can all do a good job to get them past that point. Second of all, I think Jim did a great job in bringing out the many points that Roger needs to think about. The group in general felt that he was hitting with too many points too fast, and because of his educational level and background, maybe he wasn't able to follow it as quickly as he probably could have. Some of the positives were Jim alluded to assigned tasks that he was going to give him and set Roger up for future sessions, which was very good. Jim defined Roger's input as to how it should be used. And everything Roger said, Jim explained to him how that would be used in a plan. You know, how you serve, where you serve, who you serve. Very important issues, obviously. Jim discussed the need to research acceptance of the product. We usually tell our group, and Roger and I do the Start Smart, you know, just because grandma thinks it's great doesn't mean you're going to sell the thing. But I think Jim let Roger understand that he probably needs to do a little more research. So those were very positive things. A couple of concerns we had as a group was Jim did not determine if the client even qualified for a loan. Really was no sense in taking him through this entire procedure without finding out what he had. He had a couple of dollars in cash. You know, did he have any collateral? Did he have 5 credit cards that were maxed out and just bought a Ford truck, $30,000 truck with $100 down? He's not going to get a loan. So you know, we tell our clients they need to clear that up first. So that was a concern of the group. We felt that Jim may have been going a little too fast. I think Roger got a little confused. Jim was speaking to him, well, I mean, he acted well. Jim was speaking to him on a different level, and I felt, and I think the group felt, that sometimes a client is afraid to ask you what you mean because they don't want to look stupid after the first couple of times. So what they do is they turn their mind off and they're not listening for the rest. So I think maybe he needs to go a little bit slower considering the level of the client. Some of the other concerns we had, the general accepted method for writing a business plan, at least in the 100 years I've been doing it, is to write the business plan and then write the executive summary. Now I know Jim likes to talk about writing an executive summary first. I'm not sure how that has to be done, but I'm going to talk to Jim afterwards. He's still using terms such as micro view and various things that I'm sure Roger did not understand. And Jim talked a lot about the business model, but never really defined what a business model is and what a business plan is. So those were the issues. But overall, I've done a great job following the script terrifically.
A couple of comments. I think you're right on in terms of your comment about squeezing stuff in. And one of the predicaments we had as a team was trying to demonstrate a counseling session that really occurs typically over more than 1 hour. So we're putting stuff in here that typically might have happened in the second or third counseling session. The other issue is important, the issue about needing the marketplace and how do you quantify that? How do you know that grandma's sauce is really a good sauce? And as you pointed out, the big guys spend money by test markets, focus groups, surveys, and the little guy ain't got the ability to do that. But they can do something, not to reach a sure conclusion, but they can bring some people together and have them taste it. They can make some calls. They can do something towards saying, yeah, this is a product, there's a need out in the marketplace, and I've got a good chance of being successful because I've got a nice product. It's a wide range of capabilities, but to ignore it totally, saying you just can't do it because you ain't got the money, is not the way to approach it. To try at least to do something to quantify the need in the marketplace for your product or service.
Well, basically, agreeing with what you said, Marty, the group did. The group also felt that Jim might still be a little pedantic in talking to Roger in terms of, I'm teaching you the structure as opposed to understanding the client's needs. And in that, subsequent discussions that he had began to get Roger questioning what he was doing, and that was good. When you started talking about costs, well, I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about that. And that's what our questionings are supposed to provoke, things like that. It was pointed out, again, that an industry knowledgeable person would be able to say, well, you know, when you start producing goods, your food cost should be about 30%. Your personnel cost should be about this. And those are the type of things that he can begin to put a fence around what he's trying to do. And that's why it's nice to have an industry person who may understand some more traditional industry ratios and sources of information, where to go to find out. Because clearly, at Roger's stage, where he is right now, it was discussed that he's probably not ready to put a business plan together yet until he understands more about the business that he's trying to get into. And perhaps formulating the business plan is going to drive it, but maybe he just needs some more research and needs to go with a set of questions on it, and that he may, the jumping into the business plan may be a little preemptive at this point in time. Is that basically? Okay. I think I've said what the group said.
I think Jim talked about a plan for a plan, namely laying out the plan to get to the business plan. One thing I'll pick up on is this term that Tom used called ratios. This is something you can get at a reference library at any business reference library. And what are ratios? It's a relationship of typically your cost to your revenue. So, or your cost of goods sold to your revenue. So for example, in the restaurant business, they have restaurants broken out by gourmet restaurants, fast food, and things in the middle. And they say for the typical fast food restaurant, the cost of food should be 28-30% of your revenues. Your labor should be 15 or 20% of your revenues. And they have those kinds of numbers for every industry around. And they're pretty good stuff in terms of guiding your clients, in terms of whether their numbers are not exactly that, but within reason to those standard ratios. And I would share that stuff with all my clients in terms of seeing if they're in the ballpark. They'll tell them if their lease costs are too high, or they'll say, I've got to generate this much revenue in order for my lease costs to be reasonable, and can I generate this much revenue? Anyway, those ratio numbers are really important. Let's bring it open to the floor for a few minutes.
Bill?
Is it
Bill?
proper to ask a person's credit score early in the game?
You can. I think I asked the question: is your credit score good or bad?
Well, either way.
Specific. And if it's bad, I know I take a certain path. If it's good, I take another path. We are going to start up segment 3, the last segment of the session, and I turn it over to Mr. Robinson and Mr. Batts.
All right. So we've discussed the 3 pillars of the business plan.
Right.
The first pillar has a footprint of who you are, what you do, where you're going to do it, and who are you serving.
So all that goes into the plan.
That all goes into the plan. That's one pillar, okay? The second pillar is your business model, and I might want to just recap. A business model describes how you're adding value with material and labor and your intelligence. For instance, your grandmother's recipe is intellectual property. So you're bringing intellectual property into it. You're bringing your know-how of cooking, okay? And you're and you're saying, I have something by which taking the ingredients of the sandwich and processing it in a certain way and delivering it to the customer in an ambiance of eating it,
There's that word
they're
again.
going to have experience.
All
I
right.
want you to keep that word in mind.
Yeah, I am.
Because every restaurant has an ambiance.
I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay, good. I wish you would. And write out that definition. Next time we see each other, I want that defined by you.
All right, thank
Not
you.
only as a dictionary definition, but your definition.
Okay.
Mary, I'll take it a step farther. You ought to go into one or more restaurants. And after you look it up, define the ambiance in that restaurant.
Should I be dealing with restaurants that are similar to the one I'm thinking of?
I would do similar ones, and I would do ones outside your box,
Outside my box.
or outside your purview, your
Oh,
boundary.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. The third thing we want to look at is market access. Now, one of the challenges you have, just generally, is the geography you're in and the exposure your clients are going to have to you. And you're talking about students and office workers,
Right.
people who want a quick lunch.
Right.
And if probably even to the extent that someone wants a quick lunch with conversation, they can do that. What would be a typical turnover for a client who would come into your place that you see?
Well, if they're just coming in and they get that sandwich and we can get them through that line in no more than 5 minutes,
Yes.
you're making me think that I've got to find a way to even speed that up.
Right?
Yeah. And then if they sit down at one of the tables,
Yes.
maximum should be another 15 minutes.
All right. But in that 15 minutes, someone might say, have a quick lunch with me, or a student discussing something.
Right.
You know. So what I'm saying, that's part of the ambiance.
Oh, okay. So the tables and chairs you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. What music are you playing? Or do you play any music? What's the lowest noise level in a place? So the business model is a cost center.
Well, where does the money come to me then?
The
Doesn't that
money
show up in
comes
the
to
business
you as a
model?
result of making a sale. All right?
Isn't that part of the business model?
No, the business model is strictly a cost center. The business model says, just like a franchise, if you follow this process with these people, with these provisions, you can make a sandwich and it costs so much to make that sandwich and
Oh, there's
deliver
a
it to
cost,
the customer.
but
Now, you
yeah.
sell it, you put a price on it.
Right.
Okay, the difference between your cost and the price is your gross profit. To make this sale, we have to talk about the market access. So you've got all of these people, all these students down
Right.
there, and all these office workers. How am I going to get them to come into my establishment?
Okay.
Now, there's two ways. There's the direct way, which is the most efficient way. You know, literally, if I could grab them by the arm and bring them in.
And I'm going to have people out there trying
Right,
to do
and
that.
people do that.
Yeah.
Then there's the other aspect, what I call business to business. In other words, the university itself is a source. The office building is a source. I mean, they may want to say, hey, go down to that place and get me 5 hot subs.
Right.
So what you want to do is promote that within the office complex. You want to
We're
make
planning
yourself
on doing
visible.
that. Yeah, we're going
All right.
to be knocking on doors. Absolutely.
Okay. So what I'm saying is there's one aspect of marketing where it's business to business because they become your marketing arm. The other aspect is where you do it directly and you are the marketing arm. You do have the placards. I noticed lately they have a fashion of people standing out there waving signs,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure.
which is good.
And we're going to give people lots of T-shirts and stuff like
Right.
that. So
But
they'll
that's
talk about
direct
us. Yes.
marketing. Now, the more direct you can make it, the better. Now, when you're starting up, I'm a great believer in promoting, in the word free, F-R-E-E.
We're going to have a great big grand opening with lots of free food. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, in the concept of that, okay, you should be thinking about promoting your product, and people are attracted to the word free. You know, get 2, I'll give you 1. But you never give anything away. I don't believe in giving anything away.
All right.
Okay.
How do
I
do
believe
that?
in giving you something for your commitment to me. In other words, if you buy 2, I'll give you 1.
Oh, those little cards you see people get that
Exactly.
you get punches and every time you get it
Exactly.
filled up? Sure.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that.
That sort of thing. And I want you to think about that. All right?
Okay. All right.
But in the end, to access the market and to make a sale, you must have a product that they will buy. The automobile companies are learning that today. Okay.
Yeah, particularly.
So what
the-
I want you to do as a task, and it's one of my points here, is describe your deliverable. And I want you to make a spreadsheet with 3 columns. What are the features, advantages, and benefits of your
What greater
sandwich?
feature than it's fast and it tastes great?
That is a feature. Okay.
Okay.
The feature is I can get it to you in 5 minutes. All right? So that's a feature. What's the advantage of that feature? So what? So it's 5 minutes. What's the big deal?
Well, if you're in a hurry, that's the advantage.
Okay. Then the benefit of the customer, he gets immediate service.
Immediate service and they satisfy the hunger.
Okay. But I want you to go through all of the aspects. For instance, the very makeup and ingredients, the recipe for your sandwich. You know, grandmother's hot sauce.
Right,
Okay? That's a feature.
right,
You should talk about the hot sauce.
right. What about the fact that everything is fresh?
Fine, and I even would go so far these days, make it organic.
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 Isn't that costly?
Well, it may be costly, but how much are you I would just go, what do you think you're going to charge for your sandwich?
Well, we're sort of thinking that by the time they have a drink and a sandwich, it should come to about $8.50.
Okay, how much for the sandwich?
$6.50.
Okay. How does that compare to Subway, the big franchise?
It's more money than Subway.
How much more?
It's about double.
It's about double.
About double.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about your deliverable and the features, advantages, and benefits, the first thing I'm going to do as a customer, I'm going to give you a value judgment as compared to Subways, because that's where the last time I got a Subway. I say, whoa, there's twice the price here.
Yeah, but it's going to be, first of all, the amount of food is going to be that much more
Okay,
than
but
Subway
then you
gives.
got to put that in your features, advantages, and benefits.
Okay, I see
The
what
amount
you're
of food as compared to Subways is 4 more ounces of salami, or whatever it
saying.
is.
And whatever, all the meats that go into
Right.
it, and cheese.
And you always get the sauce.
And the sauce is there.
Right.
And the sauce is our secret.
So what I am saying, okay, I want you to do as a first task is to put down what you think is your competitive advantage, that you're going to charge twice as much, okay,
All right.
as compared to your competitor, and they're going to buy 3 times as many.
Well, we're planning on that. We
Well,
hope
and
so.
I'm making
Yeah.
a point with you.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
it's not good enough just to be like Subways. You got to be better than them.
Well, we're going to educate them. We're going to teach them what good
What
sandwiches
is
are.
educating of a customer?
Having them taste the product.
Exactly. So they got to make that purchase. So the
Wow.
first thing they're going to go through, and I'm not disagreeing with your price, but the first hurdle you have is charging twice as much as
Right.
Subway. How do you compare to Quiznos?
I don't even know if there's one nearby. I don't know.
It's irrelevant whether it's nearby. How do you compare with them?
Quiznos is more than Subway.
Okay, how much more?
Now you're going to have to make me go out
Okay,
and do
now
some
you need
research.
to do some yes, you
Yeah,
need some
okay.
quantitative study of this.
Okay.
Okay? You need to do some, what I call some legwork. You need to pound the pavement, compare the prices, taste their product.
Visit your competitors.
Exactly. Visit them. And if it's possible, go to work for them.
Go to work for them.
Go to work for them. Become a waiter at Quiznos. Become a waiter at Subways.
Oh,
So you can find out what's going on the inside.
you know, never thought of that.
As a matter of fact, in my past life, okay, I was a consultant. Worked for a big company.
Yeah.
And one of the first things we would do for any company, no matter where they were, and we do it subtly, is I would know where all their garbage was. I wanted to know what was being
It's
thrown
going to be in a can
out,
out behind the
Exactly.
store. Yeah.
because that indicates to me how much waste product they have. And
Oh, I see.
everybody has it.
Uh-huh.
Okay? The second thing I would do is go to the employee's restroom. Not the restroom
Well,
of the
if
executives.
if I work the place, that'll be easy. Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
I'm just making some points because
Okay.
they indicate a attitude of the company toward what they're doing and how they treat their employees. It's just my experience, and you'd be surprised what you learn about that. The third thing we looked at is the receptionist. It's your first indicator with the customer. When you come in the door, you park in a certain place. Another thing we
Is
checked
that
was,
part of what you're talking about when you use that word ambiance?
Yes,
Ambience?
that's part of it.
Yeah, okay.
that's part of it.
Okay, all right.
So when I drive up to your establishment, some basic things. Where do you park? Downtown
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
parking
yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So is it going to be strictly street traffic?
That's what we're thinking about,
Okay.
yes, yes.
What's your signage? What kind of security do you have?
Well, we're going to lock the doors at night,
What kind of doors?
glass doors, so
Okay.
people can
You
see
may
in.
want to think about that. You're downtown at 3rd and Van Buren.
Okay, all right.
So there's signage, there's parking, there's security. And you're thinking about the security of the client.
I see. Okay, all these things have to be looked at.
They have to be looked at. Because
And
as a customer, when I go to your place, okay, I am either directly or indirectly checking you out.
Okay,
If
so
I
all
don't have
that-
to park, how do I get in? How do
So
I
all that goes
insert?
into the plan.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, what we're doing, okay, we're putting in elements of the plan and coming together. We're going to compound them for you to have a plan when it's all done. In other words, it's the elements of something put together that form a presence of your company. And your company has a presence. Your restaurant has a presence.
Yeah.
And the biggest presence is the product.
Oh, that's what we're going to be selling,
So
yeah.
again, I want to reiterate what your deliverable is. I want you to do a spreadsheet with features, advantages, and benefits of your particular restaurant.
Do you have something that reminds me of all these things I have to do?
Yes, I do. I'm going to be giving you
Oh, okay.
a document,
All right.
and all this is detailed listed, okay? So all of that's listed. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about, and you've been talking about money, you're going to price this product for a certain price, and we've said that.
Right.
Now you need to reflect what's your cost. We've talked
Okay.
about that before,
right.
but you need to know your cost, not only the direct cost, direct labor, direct materials, but all the overhead, your telephone bill, your lease agreement, your equipment upkeep, your inventory, because inventory costs you something. When you buy inventory, that is a in-process goods to be processed that
So
you're
I need
putting money into.
for inventory. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
In addition to equipment. and
In
things like
addition
that.
to equipment.
Okay.
The equipment only provides the means for people to process the food,
Okay. All
but
right.
they got to have something to process. So
Okay,
you need
all
to
right.
have suppliers.
Okay.
And in the next couple of sessions, we have what we call outside resources.
Couple sessions? You mean I'm going to get to see you more often?
Yes.
How often can I see you?
You can see me as often as you're ready. Because I'm going to give you some tasks. If you're ready, you come back.
You give me homework.
I'm going to give you some homework, and we're going to get to that.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I want to talk, one of the points I make is cost versus price, so you know what your gross profit is. In other words, for every sandwich I sell, it costs me this much, with everything applied, all my costs completely, including your salary. Okay.
Including myself.
Including
You got me
yourself.
back working for the
Yes,
company
yes,
again.
I do.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
What does it cost me to deliver that sandwich? Including the wrapping you put on it, everything, including your calling cards, the electricity to keep the sign
When
on.
I was in the Navy, we never had to worry about costs, so it's a whole new thing to me.
Because they gave you were a worker in the Navy. You were an enlisted man.
I wasn't the cook, I was a worker. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, you were a cook,
Yeah.
but you were a worker.
Okay, all right.
I believe me, I was in the Navy as an enlisted man,
yeah.
and I was assigned to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I know what you did with me.
Now you know that I peeled potatoes. Now you're getting to it. All right.
The other thing I want you to consider, in the business model, okay, and then in the business model as a cost center follows the 4 C's, and I'm going to repeat them again.
Yeah.
Your capacity, your capability, your cost, and your cash, all right? Now, we talked about you're going to be operating at noon hours, and we talked about a maximum capacity that you could deliver in that sweet spot.
So I've got to figure all that out.
You've got to figure that out. Now, once you figure that out, you will come up with a figure saying, if I'm running at 100% capacity, and let's just use for a figure 100. Let's use that word, that
Okay.
number, 100.
All right.
I can do 100 of these.
Right.
I want you to assign what your price is, okay, and show me your gross revenue
All right.
based on your capacity,
Okay.
of what your revenue is going to be at running at 100% capacity.
Okay.
And once you get that done, I mean, it's a little arithmetic.
Okay.
Then I want you to take another task, and I want you to take 80% of your capacity. In other words, you only utilize 80% of your maximum. Okay?
Okay.
You can drive her at 100, but I want you to go back to 80. Why do I say that? It gives you a viability of what your task is.
A what?
Viability. Is this business viable? Is it something that really can go forward? Does it have substance?
Can I look that word up too?
Sure. Viable means very simply, is it possible to do this?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
in a bigger context, but you'll find that out when you look up the word.
All right, okay.
Now, so I want you to do an 80%, and I want you to look at the revenue then, all right? And looking at your cost versus your revenue, will the numbers come out that running at 80% capacity, that this business is possible to operate?
Question.
Yeah.
You described all these things that I have to do. Are there not, and you know, you talked about a little bit about computers.
Right.
Is there some resource that I can go to online where I can get some ideas of how to do this, or can I only do it with you?
Well, you certainly can, I can share it with you, and there are some things online, but what I'm asking you to do is a very simple arithmetic.
Okay, all right.
Now, I will say this, in the appendix of my plan, which I will
Oh,
give to
okay,
you,
all right.
I've got some little worksheets here to do, and you
Oh,
can
that will be
pencil it in.
That will be a big
And
help.
I believe in penciling it in first before you go to the computer, with a pencil with an eraser on it.
I get you, all right, okay.
So now what we've called is we know what we can do 100%. We know what our revenue is going to be at 80%. Then what I want you to do, okay, because you're going to have some figures of costs and overhead. What's the lowest amount that you can sell and still keep the lights on?
What about rent? Don't I have to pay rent too?
Yeah, that's all. In other words, you have fixed costs.
Oh, okay, you
So
mean
you
all
look
costs?
at your all costs.
Okay,
You look at the fixed cost and you ask yourself, how many sandwiches must I sell
Okay.
just to
I think
pay
I see where you're going.
my expenses,
I think
including your salary?
Including me?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. I think I get it.
And that's called the break-even point.
You know, I've heard the phrase before, thank you.
That's
Okay,
and,
okay.
I mean, the accountants get into some sophisticated formulas. Don't be concerned about that. If you want, I can give that to you, but don't be concerned about that.
All right.
All I want to know is, very simply, how many sandwiches you must sell to break even,
Including myself,
including yourself,
okay.
because you're part of the enterprise.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to share with you is a little bit more about SCORE and what we do, and some
Okay.
other services that we associate with, some other resources. And one of the ones that I think is extremely important, and you are computer literate?
Well, you know, I know how to
Okay.
turn it on.
Do you have
and-
a computer?
Yeah. yeah.
Okay, that's the first
Okay,
base.
okay.
I was going to say, if you don't have a computer, you can go to a local library, get
No,
online.
fortunately, I have
Okay.
one.
I suggest you go to this website, the Arizona Department of Commerce,
Oh, okay.
okay? And they have, and then subsequently follow these directions. Just click on, and they have a checklist for starting businesses.
Oh, that'll be
I
a help.
really
Okay.
recommend that.
Okay.
Okay. The third aspect I want to share with you is that we have a series of workshops and seminars.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I want you to do these in conjunction with. In other words, oftentimes I found people, they want to go to the seminar and then they do this. I want you to be working in parallel with me in this business plan. At the same time, attend all the seminars you can.
All right.
And we have a whole series of them, ones on
Well,
intellectual
Are
property.
they day or night?
They're both. And I'm going to let you read them.
Oh, okay.
And it's very well defined. But there's sales training, web-based marketing, intellectual property, how to buy and sell a business. And that is an avenue
Okay.
that you may or not want to seek in purchasing a business instead of starting it.
Oh, I never thought of that. Okay. All right.
And it tells you how to register, et cetera.
All right.
Okay? The third thing I want to discuss with you is our premium series, our survival series.
Survival. Okay.
Right.
All right.
It's called Small Business Survival Series. This is in the daytime hours. It covers business plans, marketing, bookkeeping, and cash flow.
Okay.
The next series, I believe, starts in March. You do not have to do these in sequence, but I recommend you do. We also have a loan clinic. And downstream, once you have your business plan put together, you might want to attend these loan clinics because this is where the participating banks and the SBA are represented one-on-one. They're there in the flesh. Okay? We have also a Start Smart with SCORE, and I recommend this. It'd be exception not to recommend this. And we have a particular grand session coming up on March the 3rd. It is part of the Entrepreneur Week.
Okay.
And
all
at
right.
that session, we're doing something very special. Not only are we having the Start Smart seminar, but we're going to have a cadre of counselors there to do one-on-one counseling,
The cadre, a bunch.
a bunch,
Okay,
a group.
a group.
Okay. And that will allow people to come in and either go to the seminar or get one-on-one counseling. I recommend you go to the seminar.
All right.
It's very
Does it
comprehensive.
matter whether I go to this one before these, or does it not matter?
I recommend going to this one first,
Okay.
okay? Because it gives you an overview.
Yeah.
And then this gets very specific. All right. And then the last but not least is Business Plans Plus.
Okay.
Okay, now, your task, okay, for the
Okay.
next session that we have is to define your business model, covering the 3 Ps, and then going one step further to develop your 4 Cs using 100% capacity, 80% capacity or utilization, and break-even capacity,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
We can make an appointment out here,
I would like that.
and we will meet with you and do it right online.
Okay.
I thank you for being patient and for listening.
Thank you for all the help.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to critique segment 3, which is the last segment. We're going to do 3, 4, 1, 2, and 5. 3, 4, 1, 2, 5. 3, start us off.
Okay, in general, we thought that this third session was probably the best of the 3 in terms of content and everything else. However, a couple of points that we think could have been, particularly near the end when he was summarizing things for the client to do, he might have suggested that he take some notes so he doesn't forget. The other thing, too, is when he started talking about our workshops and seminars, he probably should have put Start Smart first, because that's the one we really want the people to go to. Somewhat feeling that maybe Jim was lecturing a little too much. There didn't seem to be too much of a participation by Roger.
Okay.
Our group would also concur that this was the best of the 3 segments. The primary reason being that Jim and Roger got into a back and forth dialogue of things that Roger could use to understand going in this business. And Jim was very specific about making sure that Roger had some things to do, even though Roger didn't take notes. And that was noted by our group too, is how serious is Roger about this? He's letting everything kind of slide on by except looking up a definition or two. The other thing that was discussed is that Roger's concept of the business should have been perhaps challenged a little bit. In that, okay, you want to serve just hot Italian sandwiches. Perhaps a little bit more about, are you going to serve dessert? Are you going to serve, what kind of drinks are you going to serve? Things like that, to get, again, dialoguing to think about the type of business that you're going into. Good discussions about expanding the capacity, but not a discussion until, I think, toward the real end about how to maximize revenue. And that's when you got into your 80%, 60%, 100%, 80% type thing. But how to round it out. And again, Duncan talking about the feasibility study, that's the sort of thing that would be prime. But once again, I think the group said, this guy's too early to be launching into the specifics of a business plan. It was suggested that really what needs to be done is understand and challenge what he wants to do, and then give him some industry sources to go do some research on. Fastandcasual.com, some other places to go see and do some research, and then come back and let's talk about, has your concept changed? Now let's talk about what you really want to do and putting a plan together to do it. But more the basic business research. Did I miss anything? I'm sure I did. But anyhow,
I think your comment about challenge is right on. Having sat in with Jim in a lot of co-counseling, he is at the top of the list in terms of challenging it just in surface here. But yeah, don't just accept the client's model. The model could be improved, modified, or whatever. That's a good point. Five? I'm sorry.
A couple of observations we made. The counselor spoke about a mile a minute, obviously trying to keep up the schedule, did very little listening to the client. Not once did I hear the counselor ask the client if he understood any of what he was saying. The counselor was presenting tasks about a mile a minute. All kinds of tasks that had to be done, studies to be done. Again, didn't write anything down, and I wonder if the client even understood any of it, let alone remembered it.
I think what I can take away from this thing is that there is a different approach that we all take when we sit down with a client. Jim has his way, everybody else does too, but you eventually have to get to the basic that we all talk about, and that's the business plan. So how you approach that, I guess, is one thing where future seminars of this type can stress. Maybe we get a uniform, maybe we don't, but the point is that it is the backbone of what we counsel on. We felt good that he emphasized research and homework. Homework is one thing we may all, I know I forget about it a lot, to tell them that they have to do the job, but necessarily to report back so I can grade you, type of thing. But it was a good session, I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. Couple of things that happened outside the role playing. Jim steps out of the room. Jim makes out a 641.3. He goes directly to the E3 system. Doesn't wait till he gets home, or waits a couple of days. He goes and gets that 641.3 entered at that point in time. He makes a note in his calendar to call the client back 3 or 4 days before the next appointment to get the dialogue going. That happens all outside the role playing. The role players would like to get up for a couple of minutes and just make a few points. Roger?
Thank you. Let me put my other persona on for a moment now. As a pedagogical experience, I was impressed by all that happened. I think this was a great teaching tool to introduce all of us to what we should be doing. We learned by the observation that all the groups were developed, and sharing it, I think, was just terrific. The value of teams and discussions here is enormous. I have to compliment everyone on that. The other thing that I think occurs out of this, and you made the point, several of you have, is that we all have our individual strengths and weaknesses. And as long as we recognize that and know where to go to overcome those weaknesses, I think that's going to make us very successful. And the third point, I want to reinforce what Bob just said. This guy had the tough job. All I had to do was be here or just play act, right? He had the real tough job, and I think he deserves a hand for it, really. The other thing to reinforce what Bob said, the secret of his success, because he does have more continuing relationships than any of us, is this level of commitment. This is a commitment that I think the more we reinforce it, the more we're going to see our strengths and our values grow. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I must say that the constraints of what we had to do, and that was well formed, and we orchestrated this, and it's come out different every time, which I think is good. But it did hamper my style, I got to admit that. Breaking it up and then starting again, or where was I, and how do I get this thing going? And
Okay, this concludes the class. We'd like to get some work from you. We need help. We want to give this class regularly. We want to make it better. We want to look at this class as a continuous improvement environment, where next time we do this, we become better than what we did it this time. We had some suggestions. Ray has taken some notes. The notes are going to be published. Hopefully we'll use that as a reference tool. But please look at your evaluation sheets, and please put some energy into it. Don't just check the boxes, but make some notes, write some sentences. They will all help us give you a better class about a year from now. Thank you.